Hey, welcome to the Relentless Positivity Podcast. I'm not alone this time. Got my boy WD Tilley here. Hey, let me give you a quick intro on this guy. They say you're one of your good friends, they'll bail you out of jail, but your best friends will be in a jail cell next to you. And that's kind of our background right there. So maybe we'll get into that or not, but we've got this part one right here. And you'll tune in tomorrow for part two. We'll get into that a little bit later, but we're just going to get into the background right now. First live guest on here. It's a big one right here, man. So this is one we're just going to get in his background. In part two, got some lessons he took away from 2023 that I think anyone can learn from. So man, let's take it back. Where did you grow up and what were you doing as a kid? What were you doing?
First of all, Joe, thanks for having me. It's been a aspiration of mine since you started the podcast. That one of these days I'll be humbled enough to be invited on. So thank you for having me. Sincerely appreciate it. I love it. It's great to be back home, my hometown,
Yeah.
Huntsville, Alabama. It's always fun coming back, especially now that we put some time and distance from that said course that you were talking about. But yeah, I grew up right here, right around the corner, probably about 2 miles as the crow flies from where we're sitting right today here in southeast Huntsville. I moved here in the late 80s, about 88, may have been 89. Yeah, so grew up right here in Huntsville.
Yeah. So what he's talking about is he said beginning of the year, if I do A through Z, and he laid out some things, we talked about it. Can I come on your podcast? Yeah, and these were big things. Man. We'll talk about what those things were later in part two, but he's put in work and he's earned his thing on here. Is like, you actually want to come on here? Like, this is some kind of big honor. But yeah, so we go way back. But one of my favorite people of all time was your dad. So Homer Tilley is the man, the myth, the legend. So tell me a little about your dad and then some of your top lessons you learned from him.
Yeah, that's a great question, and always reflect on him. Dad passed away in 2003, and then I actually deployed a couple weeks later. So think about him every day, miss him every day. But he was really a Renaissance man, Joe. And the more I reflect on him and kind of what he did, grew up very poor in East Tennessee, dirt floor, no running water. Born in '33, that kind of life, and built it up to where he was a physicist, a contractor, had his own computer company in Silicon Valley in the '70s. But also was that guy that loved football, loved to mix it up. I seen him throw down a time or two, and but always then go turn on Mozart when he got home. So really a Renaissance man. So somebody that can kind of be good at a lot of different things, and really took his destiny in his own hands. Wasn't a big fan of school growing up. Did a lot of just taking out and getting in the Smokies and going off for weeks at a time. Back then, you could do that and not have to be really in trouble for it, and he didn't really care if he did. And then parlayed that into going into Korea and worked as a radar guy. So good at school that they told him to stick around as an instructor, and that kind of started the path for him. Had a family, went to school at night, and then got his degree from FIT. Back then, it was called FIT. It's called in Melbourne, and ended up becoming a physicist and working with the space program at the Cape Canaveral, and did a lot of defense contracting stuff. So was also a chief petty officer, so was Air Force and then in the Navy. He was a Navy chief, which really kind of molded me, kind of where I got from. So I really took away a lot of things. Was I always tried to aspire to be that, try to be a Renaissance man, and be able to be smart about history and art, but at the same time be able to go do what you need to do, get your hands dirty and do that kind of thing too. So he's very independent, and I take a lot of my personal politics from him too. Independency, leave me alone, let me do my thing, kind of that libertarian lifestyle. And the biggest thing I took away from him was the golden rule. He was big on to do unto others, and that's really stuck with me. And I think that's a key takeaway that I took, think about every day, is like, put myself in another person's shoes. How would that be? Whatever, regardless of the situation. 9 times out of 10, that's the right thing to do. So,
That's it, man. That's
Mission pops.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't get to meet him, man. You missed out for sure. And you'd have never known this dude was a physicist. Just the nicest. I mean, you could tell he was smart and all that good stuff, but so down to earth, so nice. Excellent at picking out family movies, is what I remember. Well, man, yeah, him and my dad were always football practice, and they could
sailing.
They love sailing. Both our dads love sailing. The kids, not. If you've never gone sailing without wind, you've also missed out. But yeah, Homer was an amazing man. Just the things he's able to accomplish. And I see a lot of them in you as well. So awesome. I see where he passed that on. Yeah. So tell me about the African War Club.
Yeah, I just saw it. We went by my mom's earlier and had this African War Club. My mom's a very independent type of person too. And she went to Africa by herself for 30 days on a safari and came back and gave me this African War Club that I used to keep in my truck just in case, the bad guys ever tried to assault us, I guess. It's still there.
This war club is bigger than you think. It's pretty impressive.
Fell out of that truck a couple of times.
Lots of jokes involved with the African War Club. All right, from your best recollection.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened at Joe Davis Stadium, 1994, Grissom High School versus Huntsville High School, the football game of the year, I would say.
Yeah, it's hard when you peak when you're 17 years old. This is a highlight of my life. Probably the greatest 5 seconds of my life for sure. I'll tell you exactly how I remember. One, it was postponed to Saturday. I think Luke did a great job on your podcast earlier this year and kind of talked about how we had to play on a Saturday. But the biggest thing I really remember is there was a whole different vibe that day than normal games. I mean, everybody always gets anxious and stuff. And it's our rival and all this, but there was a little something else extra in the air. I could just feel the crowd was amazing. Yeah. It was a Saturday. It was at Joe Davis. For those of y'all don't know, it's the AAA of baseball. So it was, kind of a big feel to it. And then, the game itself was very competitive, very back and forth. They had really awesome athletes, especially with the fullback and the tight end, if I remember, and quarterback. And their 1-2 punch. Back then everybody ran with a fullback and tight end and a power I formation. Most teams did. And I'll tell you what I remember is going back and forth. And when we got into that double overtime, and they said, we could tell that they were coming out of the huddle and they were going for it. I really remember telling myself, please don't come my way. Please, whatever happens, I do not want this guy to run towards me. And he did. And that's kind of the last thing that I remember. I kind of come to, and Coach Daniels is lifting me up off the ground, just shaking me. By the way, not the greatest thing to do with somebody with a possible neck injury. Let me shake them. And then the crowd was on the field. And then the other big thing, and I was talking to our friend Dom, and what a great hosting event we had that night at his house. And it really is still a highlight of my entire life. I've done a lot of things, and that was awesome. It was an awesome team win, I want to say. And it was just a great, I think it solidified everybody that was on that team for life. That one monumental game that we all shared together.
Yeah, man, it's nothing like a group of guys coming together to accomplish a goal that hadn't been done in 10 years. Something they hadn't beaten Huntsville High School in 10 years. And made the game winning tackle, almost killed himself, and then almost got killed by his coach afterwards. So good time. Yeah, and the party afterwards, man, I heard it was awesome. I went to the library. It's finalist week. I heard they got after it. I don't know what happened, but all right. So tell me what everyone's got this high school graduation. They throw their thing up in the air. What did high school graduation look like for you?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And when I look back, if one word I could sum it up, it'd be disappointment. I was horrible, absolutely horrible in high school. I think nowadays they wouldn't have even let me graduate. I graduated a couple months later, just because I was short of credits, and to see all, we were so tight, all of us very tight, to see you guys, go through that culmination event. It sucked. I'll be honest with you. It was disappointing. But my dad was like, "Hey, this isn't don't let this define you." Yeah. So what? It's great for that evening, but move on. Which is kind of good and bad, ways of thinking. But I certainly was sad and disappointed. And I think back today and what I could have applied myself academically. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I would have been an A student, but I certainly think that if I applied myself had a little bit more focus, or a lot more focus when it comes to academics, certainly could have been there with it for sure. But and that was pivotal. And one of the things, it was a fork in the road for me. And It was, I could almost feel it. Even that day, I was like, this could be going down a bad road right here, or learn from it, get better, and move on. And that's, I think, is a very important lesson that I've tried to apply throughout my life is under, as I call it, after action review. I AAR everything. And I'm like, okay, that was horrible. Now what can you learn from it? Oh, you just need to work harder and apply yourself and stop being, wayward, outlaw trying to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. So you can tell he likes some acronyms. You may have figured out he was in the military. So why did you join? Why the Navy? Why did you say, hey, I'm going to join the
Navy? Yeah. Well, Top Gun was a big influence.
There you go. Ladies love the whites.
Yeah, we got the best. No, I think it goes back to this one story that I was real little, that my dad went through Chiefs initiation back in the 70s, and my mom said that the chief petty officers were the most foul-mouthed, drinkingest bunch of derelicts on the face of the earth. And I said, that sounds like a job for me.
I'm in.
Yeah, like sign me up. No, I really wanted to try to get into naval special warfare when I first tried to join, and that unfortunately that wasn't in my cards. But the Navy always intrigued me because it was an adventure. Even growing up here in Huntsville, I was always trying to be an explorer, and walking from my house to the top of Green Mountain and back when one summer in 8th grade. Just always intrigued me to travel, and I always read books about traveling, and I wanted to do that and be an adventurer. A little bit older in life now, but I just thought it was romantic, to be honest with you. It's kind of, the Navy's, kind of a romantic thing. You're on a ship, you're going to far off places and seeing different things. And I just thought it was, I always wanted to be in the military. What flavor and what job. Back then, there wasn't, the mass amount of information that we have. So you kind of roll the dice.
Yeah, you have movies.
Yeah.
Posters,
you got movie
commercials.
Yeah. Like, okay, now it's like, okay, this is exactly what they're
it's out there today. Sure. Yeah. So you decided to join the. You go to boot camp. What was your boot camp experience like? Was it better or worse than county fair?
Yeah, it's no big deal, to be honest with you. I went to boot camp in Great Lakes. I mean, there were some cold mornings there at the end. I graduated on the Navy's 200th birthday, and but I'll be honest with you, Coach Parwin and his coaches certainly prepared me for that cakewalk. I mean. Yeah, it wasn't that big a deal.
I've heard that 2-day football is much worse for a lot of people in boot camp.
Especially during the kind of summer that we had leading up to that.
Old school coaches for sure. So hit me with some highlights from your Navy career. I mean, you had a great career. I mean, you came out of high school, things didn't look so great, right?
Right.
But you joined the Navy. I mean, you had a great career. So hit me with some of those highlights.
Yeah, I think I was very immature. I'll be the first one to tell you that. I think everybody is when they're 18, 19, and they're taking their next leap into whether that's college or moving away. You're going to mess up, and I sure did. It took me a while to kind of break that, shed that skin, if you would. And, life's not all about the next big, fun thing. The fun actually comes with the sweat equity that you put into anything. And I started to kind of break out of the stereotypical sailor hits a Liberty port and goes out and has a great time and then comes back and then goes back to work. And I started to take it a little bit more serious and try to be a professional. And one of the things that really helped me was setting goals. And on my first duty assignment was in the Persian Gulf, and back then we didn't have the internet, so there's this magazine that said "Put in for my outfit." And when I read it, I read enough Dick Marcinko books to read. It's like, oh, it's in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Don't worry about if you're not airborne qualified, we'll send you. I said, that sounds like something I want to do, and it was for communication guys. I was a radio man, and I had to wait 4 years, though. This was my first year in, probably first 6 months in. And then I said, I have to wait 4 years. And I think a big, one of the pivotal points for me was I waited, went to 2 other ships, and I applied for the Joint Communications Unit and got accepted to come interview. That's all it was, just an interview. And like a month before that, I got into a scrape and thought that was going to derail any hopes. And I've already re-enlisted at this point. And luckily enough, the incident wasn't catastrophic enough where I was disinvited. They said, "Well, we want you to come anyway." So I ended up finding my way there through a snowstorm, and I swear that's the only reason I was hired the first time. And what a group of professionals! And then all of a sudden, I start seeing what real professionals act like, they talk like, they how serious they take their approach. And these are some of the finest Americans that we had to America has to offer. It's an absolutely that organization and everything around that and what we supported there and was absolutely something that changed me fundamentally. And then no more is the I got to take things serious. It's not up for debate. And so I started to try to change a little bit on the maturation process. Yeah. And I had a timing. It's better to be lucky than good is my motto. Yeah. Soon after I graduated the Special Operations Radio Operators course, 9/11 happened within a few months, and soon enough, I was doing real world, supporting real world operations, and did that. We were doing that for like 6 years in multiple arenas, and that kind of just again sprung me into another job where I was fortunate enough to go down to Tampa and work for strategic level, 4-star, 2 of them, which again is just
kind of a big deal if you're listening to it.
It is, again, to have that point of view of that strategic level of thought. And the perfect timing for me is I was old enough not to be stupid about it, but young enough where I could do the job and travel 270 days out of the year. Yeah. And took away things from, General Brown and Admiral Olson that I still think about today. So again, better be lucky than good. Then I went to Pensacola and really got to fall in love again with being a chief in the Navy. And, my 2 mentors, Dave and Neil, really showed me how to lead other leaders. And that was a big deal for me. And I had the greatest, that was the funnest tour I've done.
Took years off of their lives.
No doubt. And, it just, and then I went back to JCU as an old dude, but I went back to the JCU as an old guy, but in a young guy role.
Yeah.
A lot of naps for the old dude. Yeah. I say old guy, I was like only like 18, 17 years in, but that's old for this.
Yeah. Were you like 38 around there?
It felt I was really old.
That's like an NFL running back being 38.
And sooner or later, it just, I kind of took all these lessons learned from everywhere I went and polished it, and kept refining it. And I was very good about seeing a smart person and I want to be like that. Yeah. I want that part out of this person. Having those smart mentors around me was fantastic, and I got to lead some great Americans, and ended up being working as a senior list advisor for the Navy guys at JCU, and then retired as a master chief out of that command. So privilege, honor, all those things that people talk about is real. I believe that I was, it took me 20 something years to figure out, but I was born for that last little bit. Yeah. Those last few years that I did in the Navy, that's what I was meant to do. And it was awesome. And it was such a privilege to be around the best professionals in the world. And hats off to all my DOD's finest out there. Keep doing it, y'all. I know you're at it today. So God bless you.
Hey. It's a heck of a run, man. You had a heck of a run for sure. So yeah, if you guys don't know, Barron's Master Chief, pretty awesome. Top of the top. You start at the 1 and you're up to 9. That's it. If you're not familiar with enlisted, that's how it works, right?
Better be lucky than good, though.
Hey, made it happen. So if there's a kid listening right now, maybe their parents got a kid about to enlist, what's some advice you give? It doesn't matter the branch, military.
Yeah, no. I would say the first thing, for any of the young folks out there that are thinking about joining, is there's so much information today the services are doing a great job in recruiting the right person for the right job. It's not as much of the crapshoot as go down the recruiting station. It's like, hey, how would you like to be X, Jimmy or Jan? It's like, hey, here's a program to get you ready before you even get to boot camp.
Right.
It's a very deliberate plan, and that's fantastic. And it's an investment into the young service people that are coming in today. So I'd say figure out what you want to do. And most young people don't know what they're going to want to do, but they got to figure it out and they got to get somewhere. I see a lot of people today that start training for like special operations way back in high school, and they have so much information in this training program, and there's pipelines for anything in the world now. It's for in the Department of Defense. But what I used to tell people all the time, or young service members, is if you want to be a part of elite organization, be elite at what you do, and the what you do part is not as important as what you put into it. If it's taking out the trash, be the best guy that takes out the trash. Like, it doesn't matter the task; it matters how you approach completing that task. And I think that one thing about the environment that I spent most of my career in was we were expected to do the menial task before anybody else, because that was the expectation from it. If trash needed to be taken care of and you're the guy in the room and there's a bunch of other people, you better be the one that's doing it. That's the reputation that you want to have to do anything. So I would just say, do your research, figure out what you want to do. And I would say there's going to be some jobs that you're not going to want to do it. And how you approach those jobs that you don't want to do is going to, it's going to wire brush you to what the outcome you're going to eventually wind up as.
I don't care if you're going to the military or not. That's great advice. If you're going to do it, man, go hard, be the best. I'll give this guy one thing. He's already told you he's probably not the smartest guy. He'll admit that. I'm not either. Tell you what, find a harder worker. Someone who's going to go all in. That's what made him successful. He just went all. He took his own advice, and he learned from mentors. He didn't act like he knew. Well, he used to act like that. But he improved, though. He learned from mentors. If you listen to the smart people in the room, go hard, man. If you just do what you're supposed to do nowadays, that's my advice to kids. Do what you're just supposed to do and do a little bit more. Man, you will go to the top so quick. And nowadays, that's so quick. So we talked about, hey, high school, not the best end right there, but tell us what you're doing now.
Yeah, that's I got, again, right place, right time. When I retired in 2019, I interviewed for deputy project manager for a company called MAG Aerospace. And a lot of people that retire from the military usually kind of figure out within 6 months to 18 months, they may have 2 or 3 jobs. I was lucky enough where MAG Aero, specifically, Mr. Heller took a chance on me. Why? I don't really know. But he did, and I'm just thankful for that every day. And I got hired on with a defense contractor that has a lot of like-minded people. That organization is built from guys like me, and you can see it through the whole company, and it's just fantastic. You just see not they're like this, I'm like this, but we're still in the same. We're still playing in the same
ball. On the team, man.
But everybody's like-minded, and they want to be the best, and everybody wants to pursue excellence every single day. And you talk about being challenged. I'm the dumbest dude in the room wherever I go, every day when you wake up. But that challenge is waiting for me every morning. So I know that I got to take care of what I got to take care of today to just show up the next day.
Yeah.
And that's a very kind of soft mindset of, you're being assessed every day. And I think that that approach and that mindset that we have and our core values as a company has kept me, wanting to just keep being in the fight, and contributing where we can to help Department of Defense, wherever, and we do everything. And I work with some of the smartest people that I've ever come in contact with in my life, and that says a lot coming from Huntsville.
Yeah,
right. It's like these are world-class engineers. I've had the honor and privilege, again lucky, to have an awesome mentor a lot like Homer. Reminds me a lot of like him. And his name's Larry McGatt, and he's taught me so much in this world of that I didn't grow up in, and just you got to figure it out, and that discovery learning. And it's challenging, and it's it's a different kind of fun. It's like climbing a mountain kind of fun. Like it sucks when you're doing it, but when you hit your objective, it's like, okay, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And that's that kind of fun, when things are hard and you accomplish something, you're like, that was worth it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So bottom line is I work as a program manager for MAG Aerospace, and always seeking out new opportunities with other partners and alumni. And me, I like to talk to folks and increase that footprint of mine best we can. So call me.
Yeah, he's out there. He's working all this high level stuff with all these highly educated people, lots of letters after the names and stuff. So hey, man, if you're listening right now, and maybe your kid's not the top student, still hope. Don't you give up on those kids, man. There's two people right here that we didn't look like our future's that bright. We're doing all right now.
That's huge, and that fork in the road comes at everybody's life, I think, and I think for us it came at the same time.
Yeah.
Same minute, maybe.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean because you took the right path that it's not going to be bumpy.
Yeah.
And but taking the right path should be hard. And you're right, man. Those kids that could probably use a poke in the chest, you don't know what's going to happen with them. And all it takes is a positive mindset, positive conversation. Sometimes a slap in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Metaphorically. But those turn out to be awesome individuals, awesome leaders, awesome Americans.
Yeah.
And they go on to do great things, I think.
Yeah, well, a lot of them they go hard in whatever they do. They're being a bad kid, man. They're the best bad kid out there, right? They go all in on that. If you get them directed, like he was like a cannon that needs to be pointed in the right direction. Like he was blowing up his own house.
Willie, no.
So let's see. We played 10 games. How many games did you get kicked out of?
Three.
3 out of 10 is pretty good.
Still, I believe it's still the record for most unsportsmanlike penalties in a year and ejections in a year.
That's pretty good.
Although, kids, I'm telling you, that's a horrible feeling to know the last play you're ever going to play of organized sports is an ejection.
Well,
that one hurts.
I'll rip the Band-Aid off, man. Let's get it over with.
That one stumbled.
Yeah, that's just, hey, there's hope is what we're trying to do. There's hope for those kids out there, especially the ones that seem hopeless. They're never going to turn around. Hey, man, we have a couple 180s right here. So let me ask you this. It's kind of a tougher question. So let's look at 10 years from now. You're creating your ideal life. What's that look like?
Yeah, that's tough. I want to be better. I mean, I'm going to start with, little things. And this year, I think we'll get to that in a little bit, but, I want to have a better relationship with Christ, and over the next 10 years, hopefully I keep working on that every single day. And I think that's big for me. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father. I got a wonderful wife. Hey, Misty, have fun. Hope you're having fun. New York. Yeah, I want to be a better husband and father, because I was gone a lot. There was a lot of things that I missed out on my kids' adolescent days. So, that's okay.
Yeah.
Things happen. Life happened. But let's put that forward and let's get better at that. Those are two big things for me in the next 10 years. I want to be better at my job. That's every day. And whether, wherever that takes me, I want to just get better and learn. I want to get more education in that field for sure. I want to fish a little bit more.
Got to. The man has more hobbies.
I had a plan when I retired, was going to be a fishing guide, and that didn't work out. So hopefully I can fish a little bit more. But yeah, Joe, I think about this a lot, and hey, if in the next 2 years, 3 years, whatever that hilltop looks like for everybody, it's like, if only that then. Well, I think about that, and then I check myself. I said, I'm living a dream, bro. Yeah. I'm living it today. Today is that. Like, I'm on the mountain. And that doesn't mean it's easy, and that doesn't mean it's all roses. But when you take a step back, I think that's part of, kind of where we are in our lifespan right now. It's like, this is it. We're living a dream right now. we got to get up and go PT today and be with each other. Like, I'm happy as a clam right now. So this is great, you know. And I think, you know, if we take time to say, yeah, I do want to have something on the horizon. I want to have some intermediate goals, but to take the time and say, this is it. You're living the now, and take what God throws at you and accept it. I'm pretty happy.
That's it, man. Hey, you do. I'm with you, man. You look to the future. You got to have those goals, man. What about today? You got to enjoy it today. You'll never get that big goal if you're not enjoying it. So, hey, this is just part one right here. So if you're listening right now, please share this with somebody. Maybe they need to hear that troublesome kid, there's still hope. In fact, he may be one of the greatest people out there. You just got to give him some help, get him in the right direction. Maybe they just need to hear some advice for a kid to think about joining the military. Maybe they'll hear a little bit, some lessons from the military. Why would they want to join? What would they want to go through? But there's reasons for sharing that they need the positive. This guy turned his life around. He served his country. He's still serving his country in the job he's doing right now. I'm super proud of him. I know that, and I'm glad to have him here right here. So if you could please share this episode and tune in for part 2 and be back for the Relentless Positivity Podcast.